We're telling your followers that you started a live video. Good morning. Don't let my chirpy energy fool you. I've started a 3-day fast. Grand Rising, darling. Morning, Candy. Hi, Lady Walk 11. All right, so Harriet is here and let us get the ball rolling. Can you guys hear me?
I
Hi.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, you're hearing it? You're hearing me now?
Great. Yes, I am. And you can
Yay!
see me?
Yes, I can see you with your beautiful
Excellent.
locks.
Asante sana.
Ye-
Mm.
I had locks years ago. And for 20
Uh-huh.
something years, and I cut them off.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't in love with them anymore. So
That happens.
yeah. So when I see folks with locks now, I'm like, oh my God, that used to be me. I look so
They're very low maintenance. That's the
yes,
best thing about them.
yes. And I used to do my own hair and just put it up in one and be ready to hit the road. But now I just got this low haircut that I need to go to the barber. And
It's
that's
okay. Sometimes
yeah.
it's a good life change.
Yes. What are you drinking?
This is really interesting. This is green coffee, but it's a herbal. It's
Oh.
green coffee with lemongrass. So I
Mm.
think when the bean is still green, that's
Mm-hmm.
when they grind it. So
Oh.
it's a bit different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm drinking dandelion tea.
Okay.
Yeah, because
It's good for the liver.
that's why I'm drinking it. Because with limited social activity, a small group of my friends, we get together either at a friend's backyard or on my roof, and we buy drinks,
Hmm.
and we've been having a good time. So I need to detox my
Oh,
liver. Yeah, I need to detox my liver. Plus,
good for you. Good for
yeah,
you.
plus I'm going on a 3-day juice fast. So I spent the
Okay.
entire morning just juicing a bunch of greens.
Okay. Okay.
So my next 3 days is me in the bathroom is going to be very good friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we're coming
Karibu.
live from Kenya. This is really exciting for me at least. And then when I put it out there that, we were going to be talking to you and that you would be based in Kenya, we were like, oh my God. So
Mm.
thank you for that. And the reason why we're here is because I follow you on Facebook, on your personal page, and also Harriet's Botanicals. And I became very interested in the work you're doing with your local herbs there in Kenya, and this product that you have released for reproductive and digestive challenges that folks may be having. But the great thing about it is that you not only created a product for women, but you also created something for men, which
Hmm.
in depending on with modern medicine is usually the other way around. They sometimes focus more on the men and then figure out the women after the fact, but I like the fact that you've kind of balanced it. So before we get into some more about you, let's talk about, because most of the panel, they wanted to know more about your product. And
Okay.
so let's go first with the product. What are these two products that you're offering?
Okay. So I've got, well, this is one. Not sure if
Hmm.
you can see the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
one for
this is a good.
ladies,
Yeah.
Arrowroot.
Hmm.
Then we have the one for men,
Right.
tenduites.
And do
And
it.
okay, literally, I mean, it's interesting that you mentioned that I've created one for men. I didn't set out to create a product for men. I
Hmm.
set out to actually amplify a product that I was using that had been brought to me at a time when I was going through a very difficult, a very painful period, and it was obvious to the crowd. We were at a ceremony at the time. So it was brought to me based on something that a healer saw and said, this is what you are suffering from, and I will bring you this medication, which has been around for thousands of years. Now, the community I come from are called the Kipsigis, and Sigis means to give birth. So literally, our mandate as a community is to kind of like give birth, populate the earth. And with it came this gift, this ancient formula for fertility. Now, every time you have any woman who really suffers like painful periods, that sort of thing, really it's seen as a precursor to infertility. Although in our modern sort of like outlook, we don't see it that way. We just say, oh yeah, you know, her periods are painful, it's part of life, take a painkiller. But in my community, your period shouldn't affect it to the extent that you don't go to work or you don't go to the shamba, the farm. There was no such thing as you spend 4 days in bed, right? And they had these herbs.
Right.
Yeah, they had these herbs that, you know, all women would take at some point in their lives. You know, like you were supposed to have a painless period. You know, you're supposed to have an easy birth. We should be able to give birth to twins and triplets. So now when you transform what this product treats, it's sort of modern day reproductive health issues, fibroids, cysts, you know, all the hormonal related issues, adenomyosis, endometriosis, PCOS. And then over here, blocked fallopian tubes is a big one. And extended use of contraceptives, because there's women who say, I want to be on Depo for 3 to 5 years, 5 years. I want to get off it. I want to have another baby. And next thing, they don't receive a period.
Yeah, it's difficult to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. But you know, in ancient times, those women were not using those kind of, that wasn't the family planning method of choice. You know, like chemicals going into your body or whatever it is. So, you know, you can imagine that time they had the rhythm method, and then they had herbs, you know, for contraceptives, that once you stop using them, they don't stay in your system.
Right.
So this was sort of like, for me, this was a response for my own, I had this problem for 17 years, right? And when it first started in my 20s, I thought it was normal. And at the time I lived in London, I was in and out of hospital, you know, in and out of hospital all the time, seeing doctors. This is how I actually became, I would say that I started my journey then, because I would look at the regular allopathic treatment, but also look for the alternative. So I'd be at the chemist getting a painkiller, but I'd also be at the homeopath, you know, or I'd also go for yoga, or I'd go for Reiki, anything really, because of pain. And my main issue was pain. And at the time, you know, I had fibroids along with endometriosis. Endometriosis is the most painful one. So I was just bothered about pain. I don't care about fibroids or cysts. I mean, as long as, you know, they're not doing anything to me or I don't feel any pain. But I do remember distinctly, while living in London, being told this is a Black woman's disease. This disease impacts Black women the most, and that's why it's not mainstream. Nobody's taking it that seriously. And eventually they all recommend surgery. It was like, just go take them off. Or, you know, in your 40s, women with fibroids, people will just tell you, have a hysterectomy. You know, like, you don't need it anymore. That's what they'll tell you. All doctors are like, you know, don't need that anymore. Just take it out. But along with hysterectomies come with their own bunch of problems as well. Now, after my classmates and I discovered this, and I started sharing it with, really in a WhatsApp group with my classmates, I was surprised that they demanded I make one for men. And it was just like a recurring theme. You know, I was like, but why? You know? So I was like, what? Again, you know, you'd like us to focus on the other gender? We're not done here yet. But there was such a recurring theme. I think my husband needs one. You know, I think my brother has a problem. I mean, why can't you make one for men?
For men.
So the demand for the men's product came from the women, which I found quite interesting.
Wow. Well, you know, we're always leading the way anyhow, so that shouldn't really be surprising.
Yes, it shouldn't. So then I went back to the mamas and the babas in the village, and I said, is there one for men? And apparently, there is. And the idea behind male fertility is the same, that men should be able to sire a child in their 70s, right? And that's why you have men in their 70s with small children, right? So, the whole idea that there comes a time in your life when you are no longer fertile is kind of like seen as obscene, So they're like, what? I'm always fertile. I've always got it, type of thing. Because they have these herbs, right? Which clean the system, clean the prostate gland. So, and coupled with an incredible lifestyle, being out there, being in the sun, doing all these physical activities, African men believe that they should be active and strong into their old age. Right? Into their 60s, into their 70s. I think I'll be pushing it if I said into their 80s. But for now, 60s, 70s, they don't consider that they shouldn't be able to get it up, have an erection or, have, coitus. Or if they marry, if their wife isn't there for whatever reason, or if they're a widow and they remarry, still they can have children with the new woman that's come into their life. That's the whole idea. So that's how we created a men's product to complement the women's. Because what my women friends were saying is that if I have this problem, let's say I'm infertile, but how do you know it's not my husband? Which is a new conversation, because most of the time it's women, like, why can't you get pregnant type thing. And we're the ones taking contraceptives. We're the ones doing all kinds of things. We're the ones at the IVF clinic. We're the ones taking supplements, and we're the ones on all these diets trying to create the perfect environment, for fertility. But lots of them say, actually, I think my husband has a problem. So that's how we created the second one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I was about 13 or 14, and I always had bad periods, like bend over, got to stay home from school, all during, we would know it as secondary school. But for folks here in the US, it's high school, right? And one day my dad had to pick me up from school because I was in so much pain. And he took me to our family doctor. She was more like a sister to me. And, she told my dad, well, I think it's best Simone goes on the pill. My father was like, no, she ain't going on no pill. Because the first thing in his head is sex and birth control. Right? So, and it was like, but daddy, I'm in a lot of pain. He was like, well, we'll figure something else out. You're not going on any birth control. So I basically would just be popping Motrins and just prepare myself to stay in the house, right? Even up to being an adult, it was always that first day. And then as I got older, sometimes it led into the second day where I was very, very sick. And at one time I stopped eating meat. I was only eating seafood. And that helped tremendously. But the only issue then after that was fatigue, right? Even up to now, on that first and second day, I am extremely tired. So, I'm now in my mid-40s, so my whole hormones are changing. Everything is doing whatever it needs to do at this mid-age, I guess, premenopausal. So that has been my experience with my period. And, I know some people going around, happy, joy with period. That has not been my experience, and I'm sad that I wasn't able to have access to your product at the time when I was going through these horrific situations. But we're here to help those now who, are having a situation at this time, these women or men, and especially our daughters, who may be going through suffering from that as well. Tell me about the herb that you use in your product. Is it the same herb for both, or is two different herbs?
Well, this Arrowroot has 8 herbs, right?
Oh, wow.
So, and Tendrate has 6. Right? So it's only that the herbs I use, the names I use are like the base herb type of thing. So Arrowroot's main function really is, funny enough, the digestive and the reproductive system are connected. So arrowroot is a tree that is
Oh,
used to treat the digestive system. You know,
okay.
clean up the digestive system so that you're now, when you're having your period, you're not having the bloating or
Mm-hmm.
the gas, or your stomach is clear. There is
Mm-hmm.
no pressure on the uterus.
Mm-hmm.
Tenduate is very well-known tree, Prunus africana, because it is exported massively to Europe to treat prostate issues for men over 50, right? So this is well researched. If you Google, you're going to find all the properties of tenduate, you know, Prunus
Okay.
africana.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over here, it is used maybe to increase libido and to clean the prostate. But there's other herbs in there, because as I clean you out in the front, I have to clean your tummy out.
Mm-hmm.
I have to clean the uterus out. I have to treat infections, because a lot of it is related. Like if you keep getting urinary tract infections, or
Mm-hmm.
even if you've had STIs before and there's scar tissue, it blocks the tubes, right? There's a decongestant in there, right? And there's another herb, like within the arrowroot, which it will go and start working on a fibroid. Like let's say the fibroid is hard, it'll begin to soften it, and then it'll start to come out. There's also
Wow.
a blood thinner. There's one herb that's just a blood thinner, like
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much coagulated blood, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
there, like coagulates and just stays in there, old blood. Goes in there, it does that, it comes out. There's painkillers in this. So when your period is on, as you're getting the contractions, it has a painkiller. There's a number of
Wow.
things going on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one for libido, because fertility is associated with increased libido. Many people don't realize this, and I didn't realize it for a long time until I was cured, is that
Mm-hmm.
healthy libido goes hand in hand, like painless period goes hand in hand with healthy libido. Most women who struggle with any of these issues, their libido is very poor, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't quite figure it out. So they're in relationships and they're not interested in sex,
Right.
with their
Right.
husbands or whoever they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't understand that they're so out of balance that even something natural, not that I'm saying, even when you're not active, it's not about having an active sex life. It's about feeling sexy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
feeling good all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So those are the components of fertility within my community. Libido, no pain, infections.
Mm-hmm.
The lifestyle we have now, there's a lot of sugar in our food, there's sugar in bread and wheat, whatever. So UTIs are becoming so common, like let's say recurrent candida.
Yes. Yes.
Women live with candida all the time. They have it every month. They just go to the
Mm-hmm.
chemist and they take something for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not supposed to be like that. You're not supposed to just live with infections,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. So what I do like the most about Arrowroot is, I when I lived abroad, I did all the green juicing and the raw food and everything. And I remember when I was on a particular diet or on a particular regimen, I found it was very time consuming to prepare the food that was needed for me during my menses to be peaceful. So what I like
Right.
about this is that it's there, it's done for you. You take a little bit, you're done. I tell
Right.
people, no, you don't have to change your diet, because it will change your diet for you.
For you.
It changes your
Wow.
constitution, it changes the pH, of your body. So you begin to reach for healthier things. It'll make you thirsty, it'll change your palate. But I don't tell people avoid this or avoid this or avoid that, because you'll do it naturally.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to tell our audience that please feel free to put your questions in the chat or in this other
Uh-huh.
box here. I see we already have two questions. So the first question is coming from Candy Fab. She's asking, so will it help if you had a miscarriage?
Okay, yes. So what's been happening now is we have women who've taken the emergency contraception. That's the one, typically when they're in a university and they're having a good time, they take too much of they abuse the emergency contraception. And then what happens is now when they want to have babies, they start experiencing ectopic and multiple miscarriages. So why do we come in? We come in because we wash out the residual, whatever it is, whatever contraceptive that is still in your blood. So whatever it is, let's say it's a P2. The P2 is telling your body, do not get pregnant. And if you get pregnant, get it out. You see, our product is doing the exact opposite. do get pregnant, hold a baby, no, I mean, retain. So it's changing. So yes, it does. We've had lots of people come to us who had multiple miscarriages. So we tell them we're not going to guarantee that you will not have a miscarriage, but this is what our product is doing.
Okay. Does it help with flow? Say I'm want to be prone to very heavy periods.
Yeah.
Does
yes,
it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so flow, we associate now flow mainly with women who have fibroids. So there's women who come to us who bleed for 3 weeks. I mean, who wear like adult diapers, because there are people who think my flow was heavy on day 2. I tell them, you don't have problems. You don't have problems. There are women who are bleeding all the time. They bleed for 3 weeks. They wear adult diapers. They're very uncomfortable, and they don't like being at the office. They think everybody knows, that sort of thing. There are women who will change pads, wear like 3 packets. Every 30 minutes, they're in the bathroom changing. I mean, they're just like blood.
That was me in my teenage years. That was me. Two pads
okay. So
on
those are
top of each other.
illnesses.
Yeah.
Those are illnesses, because so many people think, oh, I just have heavy flow. But anything that is out of like, anything that is outside of the 3 to 4 days painless or very little pain period, anything, you should feel a bit of pain sometimes, like a bit uncomfortable, right? But ideally, anything that's like too much pain, where you have to take, like prescription painkillers. You're on painkillers the whole day. You're bleeding through your pads. You're bleeding through towels. You're bleeding onto your sheets. You bleed all day. You're in so much pain, plus the bleeding. You miss days of work. You stay in bed. You're just a hot mess.
Yeah.
Really, that's what we remedy, because we consider that's a hormonal imbalance right there. Too much estrogen or too much of the other hormone. When there's women who don't bleed at all, now there's the other extreme. They're 26 years old, haven't had a period for 3 years. You see, so it's the other extreme of the hormonal imbalance. Now they're like, I don't have a period. What's wrong with me? Am I a woman? I'm infertile. What's going on? So these are the things that Arrowroot will treat, because now it looks at it. It says, if you've got too much of this hormone, too little, it balances them out like that. But it stimulates your body to do just that. Natural, traditional African medicine is not invasive. It just helps you along, right? To do what your body's supposed to do naturally.
Right. I'm very fascinated when I, follow you on Facebook and also IG, how you have gathered the community to bring this product to life. How you use, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, with different tribes in Kenya. To support you in bringing this product to life. Can you talk about that, please? How you engage your community? I know you mentioned before Kipsigis. Is that how it's pronounced?
Kipsigis, yes.
Kipsigis.
Yes.
And you have 2 other tribes that you engaged in with bringing this product to life. Can you just run us through a typical day of what that would look like?
Okay, so with our community engagement really is premised on the idea that without the community, we will not have any herbs, right? And it's like, if we just go and take, one day they'll just say, we're not giving them to you, type of thing,
Yes.
They've given, this is an ancient secret. The secret belongs to the whole community. It's not a secret, sorry. An ancient recipe which belongs to the whole community. The fact that I create this, there's another herbalist creating a different version of this, and I can't say to them, oh, no, you can't do that, because I am now doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
So the way it's community property, right? And if we are taking a lot of herbs, because now if we are looking at 1,000, seeing 1,000 buyers a month, we are now taking more herbs out of the community than anybody else. And there's going to maybe be somebody else going to come and be even bigger than us and take out more. So then we have to have this symbiotic relationship where we give back. We always give back. We give back by running trainings, right? Creating research around the product, developing intellectual property law around all this stuff, And even now, identifying projects. I mean, recently we renovated a hospital wing.
Yes, I saw the images
yeah,
for
right? That
Yeah,
one. There's
fantastic,
that one.
fantastic.
We're also now planting trees, talking about cultivation and of these trees, and going to people's farms and telling them, if you have a tendweight and arrowroot, don't cut it, right? Identifying people in the community who act as sort of like they're in charge of making sure, spreading the word and making sure nobody cuts indigenous trees. So we have a tree planting initiative, right? So these are all the different things that we do. Plus now we've started working in the forest, like finding sort of like ownership. Now the Ogiek, one of the communities I mentioned, they are the original people who lived in the forest, who were tasked with things like preserving shrines, cultural shrines. I mean, some shrines are centered around indigenous trees because those herbs are used during our ceremonies, for instance. So there's like sacred groves and sacred shrines and things like that. They are the ones to look after. Now, if we ignore them, if we don't empower them, even if it's with cash donations or with recognition or by volunteering, they'll one day just stop, right?
Yes.
So our community outreach is huge. I mean, we have vision. We've just done a little bit. We've only just started out. But that's where we want to go. And we want the community to benefit directly from our work so that they can then say they'll never cut any of these trees. They keep growing them. I mean, there's more and more and more people who need these herbs. So then it becomes a commercial enterprise, not strictly commercial, but for them, they know that, every bottle on the shelf brings something back to them.
Back to them, yeah. Well, that is how we are, even with me being a spiritualist. Anytime that the earth or the ancestors, give us or award us with something, we should always give back.
Absolutely.
And that is the key to your success, in that you have recognized, because your product is good, period, but then you have that added blessing in terms of giving back to the community, in terms of giving back to the earth, and you being recognized for that in terms of, your product being so successful. So if I am here in, North America or even in the Caribbean, do you ship your product internationally?
So we used to, before pre-COVID, the people would come. Let's say I'm traveling to Nairobi, and then I'd give them bottles for their friends or people who want. And I have somebody in Atlanta who's right now waiting for 300 bottles to distribute for me to different people.
Okay.
But it was just we got interrupted by COVID-19, and we waited a little bit to see what are the new requirements before you can send product abroad. But having said that, just like last week, somebody jetted in and picked up 6 bottles. Somebody else is here waiting for 10 bottles to take them to friends and family.
Okay.
So we do ship. It's still a little bit ad hoc as we wait for everything to settle, but we do ship.
Okay.
We also use DHL. It's just that it makes the product a bit more pricey.
Okay. And we could find all of this information on your website, harrietsbotanicals.com. Right. Someone is asking a question. .co.k. Okay. Someone here is asking, is these 2 products the only product that you are selling right now? Because someone is asking if you have something as a natural, that they can use as a natural contraceptive.
Okay, we're developing a natural contraceptive, but remember we have to take it through all the government bodies. So there's lots of products out there, but they have to be certified. We have to take them to the government chemist. We have to partner with University of Nairobi Pharmacology and Pharmacognosy Department, the way we did with this. And then we have to get the certifications. And that takes a while. So even these, by the time this product was ready a while ago, but it took 2 years to get those certifications.
Wow.
Because remember, we are competing neck to neck with the pharmaceuticals. We just can't put products out there and talk about them everywhere. We have to have been through some process, and there has to be some regulation in place.
Okay. So let's talk about you a little bit.
Okay.
So you if I could remember correctly, you were living here in the US,
I was
right?
living in the UK,
In the
but
UK.
working for an American company. Yeah.
Yes.
So I traveled quite a bit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were heavy into corporate business. You
Uh-huh.
know, so tell me what you were doing and then how you get to being a herbalist. Because from what I
Okay.
read, you were into finance and
Uh-huh.
investment and
Yeah.
that industry, and you left that life. You walked away
Uh-huh.
from it and became a herbalist. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us about your life before, and then so I'm
Okay.
assuming that you coming across this herb, you're like, you know what, let me just work with it. But tell us about where you were before and that transition into where you are now.
Okay, so I was an investment banker with JP Morgan Chase and with
Mm-hmm.
Goldman Sachs.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was in London from 1995. Actually, I went to school there, and
Mm-hmm.
I have a legal degree in international banking and finance law. So, I mean, at the time when I was young, all I wanted to do was work in the stock market because I'd seen it on TV. It looked like so much fun, and that is why I went into that field. Plus, I do like a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it was just that my life as a financier was being interfered with by my period. That is actually
Ah.
what was happening, in that every month I had this 1 week which would terrorize me
Mm-hmm.
and would make me feel as if I'm not meeting expectations around my performance. And this is a place that we do long hours. We do 10, 12 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
in your first year, you just work all the time. You work Saturdays and Sundays. So
Mm-hmm.
if you disappear every month for 5 days, what does that do for your reputation within your team?
Yes.
So for me, this is why I was looking for the solution. I just want a solution for myself so I can
Mm-hmm.
continue with my work. When I moved back to Kenya, and I moved back because I wanted to be, with my parents, really. So my parents are getting on. And at the time I thought, what am I doing in London when my parents, where our home, everything is here. And I thought, well, I can't get what we have here over there, but let me come here so that I don't run the risk of losing out, not developing anything here, and coming when I'm too old to do anything. But primarily I came, and when I came, I jumped on a plane. It was just a holiday, like a 2-week holiday that I never went back. I just resigned from here, type of thing. It was just like,
Wow.
because it's very difficult to leave that kind of work environment. It's very difficult to
Yes.
leave a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to leave your identity and say, oh, well, I'm just going to Africa to make a life. People laughed. So even then, when I didn't come back, people were like, you're crazy, you're crazy. Come back. That place is mad. That place is crazy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then how it happened is I started working as an entrepreneur consultant, an entrepreneur and finance consultant, where I would identify small businesses that I wanted to support, right, with my finance skills. I thought that's what's missing in the market. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
you have all these, what we call mamamboga, women who sell vegetables on the road. You have all
Yes.
these little businesses everywhere. I thought nobody supports them.
Mm-hmm.
So I could fill a gap of any small business. It doesn't have to be mamamboga. Who's out there who needs, to learn about governance? Who's out there who needs to learn about pricing? I can be of service. Even though I was also still doing bigger projects, I had another very interesting thing that I was running. I was interested in providing affordable housing for the diaspora, which is, it went off the table, but it's back on, because I thought there's all these people out there like me who want to come to Africa and be able to afford a home, even if it's a holiday home, even
Yes.
if it's a place that your children come to over the vacation, and they get to learn about Africa or their culture as you plan your relocation. So I was doing all these projects. And when I discovered this particular product, and I was just sharing it with friends, everybody who I spoke to didn't want to pick it up. I was like, why don't, you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist. Why don't you develop this product? So for a while, I was just still the support staff for things like this. Like how can I support on the finance side? And eventually I just took it up. I became the herbalist, you know? It's like nobody would do it, and suddenly it just became all about you do it, and I did it, and it succeeded as a business. You know, it's I would say it's more successful than when I was in investment banking, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But
Yeah.
look at
So
the timing for it. Go ahead. No, you continue.
yeah, I suppose the timing is interesting, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's opportunities. What I would like to really emphasize is there's so many opportunities here that are not considered fit for people who are educated. And that's where the money is at, you know,
Yes.
because we bring a skill that, you know, if you're a typical, you know, selling, let's say you're selling what we call chapatis on the road, you're selling 200 chapatis a day. If you have a certain mindset and a certain education, you can sell 2,000, right? But there are people who are too educated to sell chapatis. So they miss out. And
Yeah.
the person who's doing it doesn't have the skills or the resources to scale up. So
Yes.
everybody misses out. But there's
Yes.
tons to do out here. I mean, there's too much opportunity. And you'll never get that opportunity living in London or living in New York. You'll
Mm-hmm.
never be able to do what I've done here. And
Yes.
now I can take my same business and open up a shop in New York, which I would
True.
never have been able to do. So do you see how there's less competition here and more opportunity? Yeah.
Well, with all that is going on, what 2020 has basically put on our laps, you know, there is a bigger discussion about um, di- living elsewhere, right?
Yes.
Especially
Yeah.
folks of the African diaspora. They're fed up with a lot of things. We all know what those things are. And
Yes.
you know, with George Floyd and that what happened
Absolutely.
with that, folks are like, you know what, I'm tired of this. And they may not be living in it, you know, but they're emotionally attached to it because this man and all the other black and brown people who have suffered at the hands of police brutality and other situations here, they're like, I'm tired of seeing this, you know.
Yeah.
So there is a discussion of folks moving, you know, if they had migrated before, like from the Caribbean or even Africa, going back. Because I know for sure before the pandemic, we had a lot of Caribbean nationals that live here in the US. They head on back to the islands before the shutdown happened, right? And they're like, we ain't sure when we're coming back. And there's a greater interest with Black Americans and African Americans about Africa and what are the opportunities there. So I think your experience and you being able to talk about where you were before and where you are now and what it has been like for you, I think it is a good thing. And it would give
Okay.
folks give them a direction as to how they can make that transition happen for them. Right. And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's good too for those who are, I mean, everybody should go home wherever they consider home to be, even if they were born here in the US. But it's good if we have those skilled individuals, right, who will come over there and learn from you and you learn from them, because it has to be an
Yes.
exchange. You know, there's no
Absolutely.
ego, there's no arrogance. We're all here to learn because we're all adjusting, right? So we have two other questions,
Okay.
which kind of linked. One is asking, will this product, since it's a cleanser, help with skin issues like acne? And the second question is it good for eliminating cysts?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So yes, it will help with acne because you know, especially if it's hormonal acne. So it should clear skin out. First, it clears your stomach out and your digestive system. So it takes out all the dirt, all the gunk, all the old stuff. And then it'll make you thirsty. So you will drink more water. It'll change your palate. So you will eat more fruits and vegetables. You know, it changes your entire constitution. It helps with cysts and fibroids, and the blockages are all treated the same way. So cysts, it shrinks cysts very fast because cysts are water, while fibroids are more solid. So typically, once it It gets hold of them, pop, they come out as water or as
What
liquid.
has liquid?
The
Okay.
cyst. The cysts, yeah. So you know
Right.
how cysts are predominantly liquid inside, right? So they'll come out as blood. That's what I should be saying. But not only blood, discharge or whatever it is we call it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we're still taking questions. If you guys have any questions, just post them in the chat, and I would pass it on to Harriet. One of the things too, I also wanted us to touch base on is primarily the importance of women's health, right? And I've been reading some of your reviews for folks who have taken your product, which I mean, you have literally transformed so many women's lives. What is that for you emotionally, mentally, spiritually in reading these reviews and having these women and men, reach out to you and say, listen, I've had this issue all of my life, and your product, has really helped me. How has that been for
I
you?
mean, it's been validating because that's exactly what I went through. It's like when I say this product is transformational, right? In fact, when I'm giving it to people, I always say, just try one. Just try one, because I know exactly what it does and what it did for me in the sense of transforming my energy levels. I used to have mood swings. I used to get very hyper and go through rage the week before my period. I used to sleep the week of my period. I used to be in pain. I wasn't as energetic as I am now. It opened up so many channels in my life. It brought out my creativity. I have a new business. My relationships are flourishing. And I'm happy all the time. I'm cracking jokes. I'm upbeat because I don't have that, mood swings, getting angry, or, so it's completely, and that is what I wanted my products to be about. I wanted women to have exactly the same experience. And I was targeting African women because I could see how it goes when your life isn't working out, when you're infertile. Let's say you're in a marriage, you can't have babies. It's just not working out. You have your relatives on your case. You have your husband on your case. And people are just talking about you badly all the time. You're really unhappy. So for me, it was to go from that point of, nothing's working out to everything's working out. When clients write to me and tell me you have done X, Y, Z, I'm expecting it. I love the buzz. But I quickly want to put it on my website and say, here, look, you can have this too. So when I lived in the UK, again, in London, and even traveled, I noticed nobody ever focused on us as Black women, our happiness. We just kind of get by. Whatever we're going through, we're never the ones thriving. We're never number one. We're never the superstar, right?
True.
We're never the ones earning the most money.
Sure.
So I thought, this is like a gift, to my African sisters, and brothers who predominantly have been treated like beasts of burden for so long. And when your reproductive system isn't working, your digestive system isn't working, you have to still go to work, you have to earn a living, you have to meet all these societal expectations. It's so nice if you have something that's helping you along and has completely changed your life. Now you have the energy. Now you're the most animated in the office. Now you're engaged with your work. Now you're engaged with your husband. Now you're a nice mom. You're not yelling all the time. Now you're thriving. So you're doing well in the society. You're giving back. Your business is doing well. You're beginning to organize your finances. Because you see, when you transform what's happening in your reproductive system, when you're thriving down there, so to speak, other parts of you begin to thrive.
Thrive as well.
Right? Mentally, like spiritually, emotionally. And that's where I'm at. So it's fabulous. I mean, on the days I doubt, like, oh my God, this is really overwhelming. There's so many people. And the next day I get a testimonial. It's like, let's go on. Let's continue.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have two other questions here.
Yeah.
Right. When you become pregnant, do you stop taking the product? Do you have
Yes,
a
you
prenatal products? Okay. And Do you ship internationally, which we said she does, but
We
with
talked about,
COVID,
yes.
yeah, there's COVID, there's some issues
Uh-huh.
there. And does the product have to be stored in the fridge?
Okay, so after you're pregnant, yes, you do stop taking the product. It's done its work. I
Okay.
mean, if you don't stop for 1 or 2 weeks, it's okay. But ideally, even if once you've had the baby, you're lactating, this product is not for you because it is strong. And whatever you're taking in and you're breastfeeding, your baby is also taking in, and the baby is too small, baby is too young for this product. It's an adult product. Um, the other question was, I've forgotten the other question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, do you store it in the fridge?
No, you store it at room temperature unless you live in a very hot place. Like if you live in Mombasa, for instance, it shouldn't be out there. Put it in the fridge. But ideally, you're not supposed, dawa, as we call it here, medicine, is not supposed to hit your stomach cold, right? Because you take it first thing in the morning, 3 tablespoons before breakfast, before water, before anything. And it's just supposed to hit your body, your stomach at room temperature.
One of the
Okay.
things, and this might be a little out of order, but one of the
Uh-huh.
things I thought about was that, is there a possibility, like, when folks start flying again, well, folks are still
Mm-hmm.
flying, but when they feel more comfortable being out there, that is it possible that we could visit, where you have your Harriet's Botanicals set up and really have a tour on the, because I feel is like, um, say I'm going to Kenya on a vacation, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like to stop and see Harriet's Botanicals is a must thing to do. And is
Okay.
that possible? Because that's
That's
something I thought
fantastic.
about. I would like to do. Yeah.
Okay. That's fantastic. We'll take you through the factory. We'll take you to our retail outlet, but we'll also take you to the forest, because for me, that is the most exquisite experience, going out to see the trees. We can take you to the farms where we've started planting or we are planting, but to be able to access the forest. And this is we are now working on cultural tours, cultural
Yes.
traditional medicinal
Yes.
tours,
Cultural. Yes.
right?
Yes.
For the
Yes.
for the local population, because there's lots of people here who have forgotten their culture or were never given access. They've moved to the cities, so they didn't grow up with grandma showing them, look, this tree's for this or that sort of thing. So that is definitely a possibility. You
Right.
know?
It's so
Yep.
amazing you mentioned that, because that was the experience. That's what is happening too in the Caribbean as well. Because, we basically had the same temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
we will have grandmothers, like right now I do something called a bush bath, where we just steep the herbs, and you wash yourself down with it. And these are things that
Mm-hmm.
our grandmothers did with us, with we had a cold or we wasn't feeling well. And some
Yeah.
of us did not take in that information, right? So that information is gone with her or even our grandfathers. So I think it is
Mm-hmm.
important that what you are doing right now, that people have access to see what the process is and what goes
Okay.
into it, and really get an
Mm-hmm.
appreciation to, the herb, and but also Africa, and that it has so much to give, that we don't have to keep
Mm-hmm.
relying on a little white or blue pill, whatever color the pill is, or a capsule, in helping,
Yeah.
our ailments. One of the things, and I don't know if you can talk about it, you mentioned ceremonies, that you were going
Uh-huh.
through a ceremony. Can you talk about that, or is that something sacred that you can't discuss?
Well, no, when I say ceremonies, I mean, over here we have like initiation ceremonies
Yes.
that
Can you talk
happen.
about that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
We have,
Okay.
I mean, in lots of our cultures, not just Kalenjin or Kipsigis culture, but the initiation ceremonies, therefore all communities have their initiation ceremonies or their age set ceremonies. Now, during those ceremonies, traditional medicine is used, right? In various forms. It is drank, it is applied on the body. You could even have, like, it's made into ash, what we call busareg, and it is used. So it's, even with the Maasai, they have a period of fasting, like let's say a type of intermittent fasting that they do, every year for about a month, they go out into the bush and they eat particular things and they perform certain ceremonies. And when they're eating their goat meat or whatever it is, they'll put certain herbs, right? Even now we have within every time, if you look at our political things happening on the political scene for the Kalenjins, when there's a leader, they always have like some reeds put around them. So that reed is sacred, or it's used at that particular time to show that this person is anointed. That's a ceremony, right? So this is what we're trying to say, that we have to preserve all these things, even, we have naming ceremonies, we have the burials, we have the marriages. So a lot of them have been customized for a modern audience, but there are still people who are very cultural, who will keep it in that particular format. There are others who will mix and match. So these are the ceremonies we're talking about. And the fact that if you use a particular herb or a particular reed, then there is like some type of naming or some type of passing on that culture. So you find children in the village will know this, right? They will automatically, oh, this is used for this. Or now we have this, go bring this type of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So of course there's others.
No, you go ahead. You continue.
I was going to say there's other probably secret ceremonies happening for specific groups. So there's ceremonies for men, specific to men. There's ceremonies specific to women, or let's say high-ranking men. So there's all sorts of things going on all the time, which not everybody is privy to. Let's say as a woman, I'm not privy to the men's ceremonies type of thing. But there's these kind of things happening all the time.
Right. In regards to your product, has there been any international entity that has, come to you and say, okay, we can make this into a pill, or we can make this into, and take it to an international platform? Have you been approached with that, and would you consider it?
Yes, I have. And I've got all my friends telling me, don't do it. They're like, don't do it, Harriet. Don't give it to them. And yes, I have. And what I wanted is, I remember last year, my sister said to me, actually, don't sell our culture. She just said, this belongs to us. Don't sell our culture, So, I mean, first of all, the way traditional medicine works is not the same as intellectual property, where you can just come, you take the formula, and then after that you've patented it and nobody else can use it. It doesn't actually work that way, because here we have, who was here first, the tree or the community?
That's right.
Before the tree there was before the community there was a tree. So it doesn't belong to anybody, and that's why I say it's access. If you go where this tree is, this 10-weight tree, and you take the bark, I can't sue you. You can boil it and do whatever it is. You can use it naturally. It's natural. So there's that element of I could probably sell my brand, which is different from selling the culture, right? So what I wanted to do is, I was bootstrapping along the way. There was a time, I mean, when I first started, I didn't think this was going to be a big thing. Remember, I was just giving it to my friends to help them with the issue, right? So as we're bootstrapping, I'm trying very much to build it up so that if anybody wants to buy it off us, we have more value. Do you understand what
Yes.
It's like a finance thing, right?
Yes.
The more you have done all the work, the more equity share belongs to you if you sell. But if a financier comes to you, when, let's say, all you've got is a formula, you don't have a brand, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have a team, you don't have a website, you don't have, then their value is higher than yours.
Correct.
Yeah. So I have to develop my business, but so that I get maximum value if I ever decide, to give up some of it. Now, what I would have really loved to do is give any value. I have a specific group I'm targeting, and it's really the diaspora African women, right? And by that I mean your African Americans, your Black British, your French Africans. I want the people out there who never had access, but they're Africans, to be the ones to own part of my company. And maybe that's a little bit idealistic, but that's my target group. From the beginning, remember who I was trying to look after. I was trying to look after African women. And
African
I'd had that
women.
experience in London. Nobody was looking after me. So now I'm looking after African women, and I want them to have a piece of my company. That's my first port of call. But you know, you never know where we're going to go. You know, you can't say never say never.
Yeah. Well, I can say this in that whatever you desire for your company, your product to go, the ancestors are going to make sure that's the direction it's going to take. Right?
Absolutely.
They're
I
not,
believe that.
and something, you know, I don't want to keep reiterating this because it continues to be the conversation all the time. But in this 2020, where there is what we call a reset, right? Or a shift, we are finding more that brown and black people have a new platform that we've always had it, but some of us took it for granted. Some of us didn't even recognize that we had it. And now this shift has allowed folks to really pay closer attention and say, well, listen, these people, you know, have some energy going on here that we need to tap into, that we've missed. Because this pandemic with a quarantine and a curfew and the George Floyd forced a lot of people to look inside. And when they look inside of themselves, they also had to look within their community, you know? So you will see people come out and say, well, okay, I'm not supporting you unless it's a black-owned business. I'm not doing anything with you unless I see how many black people you have on your board. And so corporate America or corporate UK, or it forced them to make that shift. It wasn't just lip service anymore. Like, you know, diversity and inclusion now really became important to these companies. And that's all well and good, but I still believe that within the African diaspora, we stick, you know, with our own, and we can do some amazing things. I have another question here. Where's the question? Oh, is it safe for people with things like hypertension or diabetes, and are there any known side effects?
Okay, so yes, it is. It is safe for high blood pressure and diabetes. Yes, it is. It will change your constitution and your pH. So you might find if you are diabetic, it reduces the amount of insulin you need to take. So you need to check that. It levelizes your blood pressure as well, because that's just how African medicine works, you know. Once it's cleaning you, it's a holistic system. So it impacts the entire body. So it is safe. Now, what we're calling side effects, really, I call them, these are the effects of the dawa. These are not side effects, because people say to me, I vomited, or, oh my God, bowel movements have increased. These are side effects. I say, how can they be side effects? These are direct effects, you know. Or, you know, this happened, my cycle has changed, or my period came earlier, or it came later, or my period was, you know, it was different. I say, these are the direct effects of the dawa. You have more energy. You know, first week is like a tummy detox. You will have increased bowel movement. Yes, you are thirsty. These are direct effects. So people keep calling them side effects because they're so used to taking a pill and being told the side effects are da, 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 da. But natural, traditional medicine shouldn't really have the same. You can't think about it in the same way. We are only doing that because of what we're used to.
Right.
But it's like when you take moringa. Moringa is a good example, right?
Yeah.
Or when you use coconut oil is medicine.
Right.
When you use coconut oil, do you think, what are the side effects?
Right.
Do you think,
so
no, they're
wait,
not.
right. So we have to stop actually, because we only have 38 seconds left. So, you know, we have to do this again. And you remember you were saying, can we talk for an hour? And I was like, yes, we can.
Okay,
So
yes. I remember thinking it was long.
Yeah. So listen, folks who are asking how to get more information about you, it's going to be on my timeline. The whole video is going to be on my timeline. This is being recorded. And all the information to get on Harriet's Botanicals will be there as well. Harriet, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much.
I had an amazing time and I learned a lot, and we'll be in touch again soon. All right, take care.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.